Okay, I've just started again. Let's go. So today I want to do a couple of things. I want to work on, I want to remove Tailwind completely, and I want to work on the user accounts editing. I want to be able to edit a user account in the app, in the Firebase app. So quick reminder, if you've never been here before, I'm on the wrong screen. We are on the wrong screen. We are looking for not this. Okay. So we are rebuilding this app. So this app is a vibe coded app that was initially built for Firebase and has a lot of features incomplete, and yeah, and we're just filtering through all of the features. Something that I learned from having a discussion with the guy who vibe coded it, who is my brother, and we had some interesting chats about things like scheduling. So, and we kind of like wanted to temper a few things, like make sure that we weren't trying to rebuild some things in here, like exams and competencies and things like that. I won't get too much into that, but I definitely am not trying to build all of these things, having had a chat to him about some of it. Like, for example, I don't want to build a scheduling app, not for scheduling stuff. I will not do it. I will integrate with a system that does scheduling, but I can't see myself building a whole scheduling app. So I feel like that the goal there is to try and put everything in the one app to make it nice, and I don't think that's the right idea. But to a degree, we are rebuilding something that already exists in tools like Deputy and in HR tools that exist. So we have to find our way as we go along. So far we've got this system of a Firebase app where we have a list of users. So if I was to jump into the back end of Firebase, you can see we've got a couple of users here, and we've got a Google user and we've got just an email password user. And then if we go to the front end in the cloud, we can see here that we've got those two users that are being displayed for us here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kick off a codex task and then talk about the codex task. So what am I doing here? I want to move to a different system. I want to remove Tailwind and switch to vanilla CSS, and I want to do what's called tag attribute class system, which I'll discuss. I'm going to kick this off and then I'm going to discuss this. I don't think I've got this in the right project. Let's grab this. What's on the agenda today? So we're doing a new project in AC Pontify, and there we go. Let's kick that off. So what I want to do with Tailwind, I wasn't really super happy with the process that with the setup of Tailwind, and and that's not to say I don't like. I use Tailwind. I'm quite happy to use Tailwind in other projects. So if we're looking at, say, the login page, obviously the goal of Tailwind is to inline these classes, and look, that's fine. But I actually want to make my app a little bit cleaner for reading, and I don't want to have all these inline classes. And also, so what I want to use is, so there's this article that came out a couple of years ago by Jordan Brennan, and it describes tag attribute class strategy. And I want to scroll down to kind of what that looks like. So we're used to seeing in decent HTML5, we're used to seeing things like buttons with button classes. When we're used to seeing divs with classes on them and divs with IDs on them, and then we're used to seeing multiple classes on our divs. And if we jump back to our login page, which looks like, so we see things like is there any classes, or has it been changed already? Inline, classes. I'm just trying to find an example. Classes, there, class equals page title. So H1 with a class of page title. And we're used to seeing a lot of that. That's fine. This move to essentially using native HTML5 tags or using custom tags is what I want to use for this project. And it may seem, so this is all valid HTML. And you can, X is sort of not, you can put anything here. I'm going to put AC in mine for Aussie Coffee. You can put anything in here, and the idea is it would make sense to your project. So you could put X in there, but you have to do something dash, and you can't just define your own tag. Like these tags have to be pre-existing. If you want to do a custom tag, you have to do a prefix tag like this. And I want to do this because I think that if you know how to read the markup, I think the markup's cleaner. And so what I got from Bryn Breedis was kind enough to supply me with the skills where he likes to use this technique. So he provided me with a skill, a starting point. Oops, let's save that. He provided me with a skill starting point, and just going to find, I don't know if I have saved over the top of what the AI was doing here, so I'm just going to replace that with AC. Save that, and I'll probably have confused the AI. Let's see what it's doing. So it's inspecting, The skill is currently Drupal. Yep. So I'm going to tell it to remove Drupal, allow editing of this file. Yes. Allow once. And then remove references to Drupal because the skill came from a Drupal theme project. So let's steer that. And so, what have I done? I've done something. I've messed up something with the skill. Did it move the skill? Actually not sure what happened to the skill. Deleted skill, deleted skill. The first patch was too broad, Okay, allowed you to, yep. So agent skills style guide. I think that I need to restore the skill. I wonder if I can do that. Can I undo deleting a file in the UI? I made a mistake where I had the file being edited, and then I essentially asked Codex to start working on the file. So that was a bit dumb of me, but it's fine. I'm just wondering if Zed has any built-in support for version history of that file. So if I create a new file, skill.md, and what if I right-click it? Does it have any sort of local versioning? No. So I accidentally delete it. So I'll grab a copy of that again. I'm just wondering if I will just maybe grab it from that article. So let's just copy that and chuck it in there. I had this all prepared so you weren't too bored. And so I've screwed that up royally. Anyway, we'll get there. So allow editing. I lost the skill. I copied an article which describes the same thing. So yeah, so where was I? So I'm sort of at this point where, yeah, so I don't want to have things like, you know, this kind of stuff with lots of classes. What I do want to have is named components, and So if this is a grid, it'll be something like AC grid, right? Whoops. Something like AC grid. And the whole idea is that the component should be very clear in terms of what it is that it's doing, rather than something like this where we're not going to obviously have Tailwind, but let's say we have some sort of custom grid class instead. I just want to kind of get that class out of there and not use the class at all. So let's just make sure that okay, allow GPT to edit the following. Yes, allow all edits. I've replaced the skill with an AC quantify specific version. I'll now verify there are no Drupal references left. Shouldn't be, because the article is not about Drupal. You're right. I collapsed the skill into a short summary instead of preserving the article style methodology. Now, so I'm just going to go and read the skill, double check what the skill is saying. So use this skill when creating or changing AC quantify UI. The app uses plain HTML, Svelte, and vanilla CSS. There's no Tailwind layer, utility class, system, component class, naming convention, or third-party CSS framework. Good. So we're going for clean. Yes. Good prefixes there. We want, avoid markup where the component is hidden behind classes. Great. Core rules. Prefer native HTML first. Style the element by its tag before adding other hooks. Prefer native tags. Yes. Do not use div or span as a public component identity when the clean, native, or AC tag would be clearer. Great. Every custom tag must wrap native semantics or carry the needed role or aria. Sure. That's all fine. We've got... Yeah, this is fine. This is fine. I'm just doing a very broad brush approach to this at the moment. While that is continuing, I am going to switch over to look at the what I want to do with the users. So if I jump over to my system, so what I'm going to do today is I want to have my users being edited and saved, the properties for the user being edited and saved into Firestore. I want to use the command line to enable Firestore in my project. So I am not going to create a database here through the UI, because what I've found is I've had a couple of situations where I create a feature in Firebase, and then I run the command line, and the command line goes, oh, you can't do this because the feature exists in Firebase. So it's sort of like I want to see if the wizard wants to create the Firestore database for me before I create it in here. So I jump to the command line, and I do want to get the project up and running. So let's... how do we do that again? So Firebase, no, it's npm emulators. And I should note that in the last session, at the end of the last session, it actually, the AI created a function for getting a list of employees. And I haven't actually committed that index. Let's close these files so we don't get conflicts with what the AI is doing. All right, so if I jump into index.js under functions, you can see here that there's a new exported function called employees. So what happens is when the employee listing page wants to get a list of all the employees, it's going to hit the cloud, and the cloud function is going to do the work of providing a list of employees. So I noticed that by default it chose this region, which is where I am. I do want to change that to South America, as close to Rio as possible. and there, because that's where the rest of the front end is running. So I don't know how much of an impact on performance that would be, but it's definitely something that I will do. So every time we're going to be doing like updates and listings and things like that, it's going to be creating these new functions. Something again that's new to me, first time I've done that. So like I've just noticed that that's what it did as a response to creating this employee listing page. So where is my employee listing page? If I pull that up. All right, so here's my employee listing page that's being, so this the results of this page are being pulled in by that function. Okay, so I've got that locally running. If I should be able to see all of my emulators locally. Okay, so that's running. I haven't stubbed out. I still don't have any seed users yet, so this is empty. And I'll leave that empty for the moment, and I'll come back to the command line, and I want to run Firebase init, and I want to run through the wizard for setting up Firestore. So configure security rules and index files for Firestore. I must select one. Okay. Okay, it's asking me for a location, so I put that as close as possible to South America East 1. I choose the default file name for the rules. Firestore indexes allow you to perform complex queries while maintaining performance to scales. You can keep them. Yeah, sure. What file should be used for Firestore indexes? Yes. Agent skills setup. Do you want to install agent skills? That's a generic request that I had answered previously, so I'll choose no for that. Wrote project information to Firebase RC. So did that change that file? No. It's excluded. Okay, so it's this is the information that's always been in this file. It just seems to update it with the name of the project. And what else did it do? Wrote configuration to firebase.json. So let's check that. Git diff firebase JSON. Okay, it's added the Firestore information to the bottom of that. Checking back in on Codex to see what it's doing. So deleted app CSS. Okay, it's replacing page level utility classes with AC panel, AC grid, AC badge, which is good. That looks fine to me. Okay, all right, I'm going to come over here just to a text editor while I work on my prompt for the next step. So what do I want to do here? I want to have, so when I, let's pull up Super Whisper. When I'm logged in to the Firebase app as a user, I want to be able to edit my own user account. And so we need to have the ability to remember properties about my user. So let's have a very simple property to start with, which is my date of birth. So I want to be able to edit my date of birth and save it. And on saving, this will save a document in Firestore. When I look at the form, it loads that value from Firestore, and I can then update the value and save it, and it saves it back to Firestore. I can edit. This form is accessible to both me and to anyone who is an administrator. Okay, so let's soft wrap this text. Okay, well, I'm logged into Firebase app as a user. I want to be able to edit my own user account. I'm sure I'm going to get to a point where I want to run multiple actions. I just have a monthly account with like a business user account with OpenAI, but I generally don't run anything. I don't run tasks in parallel. However, since I've been doing this video, there's been a couple of times when I've been waiting for AI to finish a job. And I'm starting to wonder if I will actually set myself up to be able to run multiple jobs at the same time, either with Git work tree or just jobs that don't touch the same part of the code base. All right, before I start the next job, I do want to see what the results are, and then I want to be able to save those results. So restored the skill as a full article style methodology, adapted, That looks good to me. Okay. Make sure my stream's still running, because I'm not super good at this whole thing. All right. Hello, Dev. How's it going? Thanks for the video. Hiya. Feel free to ask any questions, although really this is a pretty, it's pretty chill. I'm just building an app and I'm just using ChatGPT, and if you missed the start of the video, I'm just copying an existing app, which I'll just bring up on the screen. So I'm basically rebuilding this app. Okay, so I'm going to have a look at the changes to the CSS. So GPT has created this new skill, which is my style guide skill for CSS. If I come and have a look at my app.css, okay, so it's moved all of my variables into all the colors and things into variables. That's great. Set up the default styles, which is fine. So there's layer components, and I thought that was a Tailwind thing. So that's a little bit weird. Not sure if I'll look that up later, but I didn't realize that layer was native CSS, so it must be, because I should see that Tailwind is being removed. If I look in my package JSON, there should be no more yet. Tailwind has been removed. Now, if I have a look at something like my login page and look at the changes, so you can see now that it's using generic tags like these custom tags, AC-login page. I'm not sure about whether I like the double dashes, but that is fine. So I've got the login page, I've got the login frame, and this is, I think, I don't know about that. I think why not just frame, AC frame, and I would want to see frame and something like that, variant equals, login or modal or something like that. So I'm going to leave that for the moment, because at the moment I just want it to work. Let's actually do a rebuild. npm run build. And just make sure that we are still rolling. Local. Okay, so as I said before, so every time I rebuild my app, I lose all the users, and I do want to fix that at some stage. So just log in with the emulator. Sign in with Google. So this should be my style that's been updated using removing Tailwind. So it looks like that's working fine without Tailwind. Okay, this is my user list. So what I want to be able to do with the new piece of work is take I am going to just ignore the Tailwind stuff now. I'm not really, I'll want to focus on functionality now. So I'll need to have some sort of link here overall where I can edit my own user account. Now, I'm not so worried about look and feel of this. I think that'll change once we kind of fill up the page with features. You know, even a couple of these pages like settings and reports, these are just placeholders at the moment. Hosting, stability, deployment health. So that'll all get wiped. That was AI generated, and the dashboard's AI generated. The only thing that we've created so far is style guide and employees list. And the style guide is really just a placeholder for whatever is, you know, free for anyone just to look at if they've logged in. So I'm going to tell the AI to add a link to edit my account, probably up in the top right here somewhere. And I might actually just guide it to sort of create a component for the signed in for the logged in user. So I've got my text that I prepared over here, and I'll start a new chat. Okay, so and there should be a panel in the top right currently where the user currently there is the user info and logout button, but I want it to be a component called like user panel, which will be enhanced over time, and it should have an edit button so I can edit my own account. The account editing route should be generic. We'll reuse it for admins to edit other accounts. Okay. Okay, going to inspect the app. All right. So while it's kicked off, I want to just jump back. I'm just going to do a quick commit of the code. So employees and CSS update. Just looking to see, no, it hasn't made mention of the fact that there was a bunch of code that was uncommitted. Okay, so that's a bit of a checkpoint. I did put probably a bit too much into that commit. I would not normally have put the employees update and the styles update into the one commit. Okay, so I found permissive starter Firestore rules, no existing Firestore client module. I'm going down to focused, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so it's adding a route for the accounts editing and a small profile helper. Okay, that looks normal, it looks fine. I'm just interested in coming back to, I want to open up, while that's working, I want to open up the style guide, and I want to open up the login page, and I want to open up the app CSS, and I want to see, is the layer CSS layer. That's kind of funny. There you go. So I had only ever used layer as part of Tailwind, so I wasn't aware that it was a generic thing. I thought it was something that got compiled. So it's a CSS at rule. It's used to declare a cascade layer and can also be used to define the order of precedence in case of multiple cascade layers. Cool. Did not know. There you go. +1 for Tailwind, I guess. Okay, so what happened in that previous piece of work around the CSS is that the AI has taken all of the custom divs and with classes and effectively made them into components. So I'm just going to squeeze through because some of them are going to be silly. So I'm probably going to see a lot of panels. Let's say, yeah, we've got a few panels. It looks like it's created custom attributes there. I wonder where AC panel's being used. Let's have a look. All pages. So it's being used in the login. Okay, I had it selected already. So interesting here that padding there, I believe that's a custom attribute. I think, which is fine because what it means is, so the clean look that we want to get in our HTML source is using these tags, and then in the CSS you can select the tag by attribute. So here we're selecting the tag by attribute, and it's applying a spacing variable to the padding. That's fine. What I don't want as much of is anytime that they're like, if I look for panel dash, then you get, okay, so we've got a user panel. And my question is, if I'm trying to keep things super generic, is why would I want AC panel and also AC user panel? Just a reminder, AC stands for Aussie Coffee. So it's just a brand project namespace essentially that I just made up. You'll see X dash and you might see other variations. So yeah, I kind of wouldn't mind if all panels were generic and not specific like that. So there's a user panel. I think I might have seen another panel. No, there's only a user panel. But generally, I'm not unhappy with this change as a starting point. I guess the devil's going to be in the details, so we'll use it somewhat, and then we'll see how it goes. So again, login card. What's specific about a login card versus a card? What I want to see, if I search for source, so grep for login card, login page svelte, great. Yeah, cool. So what I would like to see is this AC card variant equals login. And I did have that in the previous skill, which I accidentally destroyed. But that's the kind of thing that I want to see. I want to see generic custom tags and then have variants based on look and feel for specific use cases. So I'm just going to I'm just going to make a change to the skill. I'm going to make a change. I'm going to start writing up a prompt for this. In the style guide skill, we specify creating custom tags such as AC-card and AC-panel. In the cases where there are subtypes such as AC-card-login or AC-login-card, these should be variants of the tag. So AC-card would be the tag and AC-card space variant quote login would be the variant component. So update the skill to reflect this, and also go through the code and find any components which seem to be subtypes of other components and make them so that they use a variant attribute. Okay, that was super sloppy. So let's see what actually got recorded here. Need to put on wrap by default, soft wrap. In the style guide skill, we specify creating custom tags such as AC card and AC panel. In the cases where there are subtypes such as AC card login or AC login card, these should be variants of the tag. So AC card would be the tag, and AC card variant equals login. Would be the variant component. Yep. Update the skill to reflect this, and also go through the code and find any components which seem to be subtypes of other components and make them so that they use a variant attribute instead. So AC card, and then selected in CSS with, it'll be something like, what is it? So it'd be like AC card variant login, I think. It might be that. I'm just going to do this for the moment. Okay, this is finished doing the user editing, so I'm going to kick off a task, which is to update the components. Pretty sure I'm going to have problems with this variant. Let's see what the code does. Let's see what the AI does with that. All right, so we have a user. We should be able to edit our own account now in the meantime. So let's come over to the browser. Right, I'm just going to look at this markup and see how this has been structured. So we have, yeah, so we have there's the AC user panel. Sure. Like, so if it turns that into, like, it's a bit of a custom dog. Like if they turns it into AC panel variant as user, yeah, that's fine. It probably is its own thing because it's going to be so unique, being like this little user panel that's going to exist up here. But the reality is I just want to have it in one thing, because then at a later point, this whole thing might be removed. So I just want to keep all the functionality together at the moment. Okay, so that's fine. If I click edit, loading account, user ID, email. Okay, so something's hanging there. Let's go to the emulator and see if we have added Firestore yet. There's the user. Emulator is not running. That makes sense. So let's restart our emulators. And we should see, okay, shutting down emulators, Java version, So I think there is a problem with the emulators. Well, obviously there's a problem with the emulators. Unable to locate Java runtime. I wonder if we've just got some conflicts. Okay, fair enough. We have an error. Attempted to close an element that was not open. Sure. Is that because something's in the middle of the job? Yes. All right. Looks like we need to finish this job properly. Okay, looks like that's running. Okay, I'm going to just jump over to my generic chat. Actually, I have Firebase GPT. Let's open that up. Wrong tab. That one. All right, so we currently have an error locally where I believe I've broken it by adding Firestore and the emulator's not starting. There is a log, so I can look at the log at some point, but I'm just basically going to ask GPT, and this might be due to adding Firestore. Yeah, sure. I mean, like, I would have thought that I had open JDK on my OS X. I mean, I'm surprised I don't have Java. I guess I don't. Sure. Okay. Switch back over to see what's going on here. Login card, AC card variant login, AC login page, AC variant login. Yep, that's cool. Even though perhaps this is overcooked or overdone sometimes, it'll be readable in the code, so I'll be pretty happy about that. In that if I see AC grid, a variant color grid, I mean, it sort of stands out that the variant equals color, like why? And I'll probably want to remove that. But yeah, I don't want to have custom components, custom tags that use the word color in them. Like, I'm not creating like a circus. I'm creating a website that for editing users, a website for managing a cafe. So yeah, this looks smelly anyway. So I've moved the smell into the variant shop. All right, let's install Java. Still surprised that after this amount of time on this machine, I don't have Java. Kind of happy about that. Am I currently running or did I bust it? I think I busted it. Tell you what I do want to do is, so that's local, so that should be busted. Yeah. So while we're waiting for Java to install, let's do a Firebase deploy. Since I added functions to my Firebase application, oh, that's good. So I've added Firestore and it's ensuring that Firestore is enabled. I'm still sort of surprised that, like, has it added Firestore here? Has it created a database? Okay, created a database. It's created a database called default. Sure. So here's where I should start seeing collections of different file types like user properties. I'm not going to be opinionated about what they're called. I want to see what the AI produces by default. Okay, we're still deploying. Where are we up to here? Move my functions to South America East. Currently, I see Okay, Java is for the system Java wrappers, symlink it with keg only. What did Firebase tell me to do? So lazy. Then make Java visible to Mac. Sure. Whoops. And add it to your path. That is not what I use. I use bash. Where's my path? Through. I don't have other manual paths to brew apps, so let's just see if... Yeah, I didn't need to do that at all. Okay, so there's my Java ready to go. And where was I? So I'm here and I'm trying to start my emulators and hoping that I now have Java and my Firestore. There's my Firestore emulator trying to start. It's good. My deployment's complete. Let's go and check our app. Which is in this browser. Let's close that. Close that. There we go. All right, so the app's been deployed. Let's see if we can edit our own user now. No, I'm getting this loading account hanging. There it is. Now, see, that was pretty slow. And I do wonder about Firebase. I'm so used to applications where everything is built in together and lightning fast. So if I'm here and I go, I edit around and then I move around and then I click edit. Is that always slow? No, it looks like it's warmed up. So there's probably a function starting up that is returning that default information. So let's put in a fake date. 2053. Okay, and save. Right, simple. And so what I want to do now is I want to double check that that value has been saved by clicking away, going back to the edit page. There's the date of birth loading up. I'll give that a hard refresh to do the same thing. Yep. And I also want to jump into, yes, here, Firestore, and have a look at the collection update. Okay, so there's a new collection called user profiles. Seems perfectly fine to me. Here is the document for my account, and it's saved the date of birth, and it's also updated it. So now I have a document. That's great. I wonder if I can I wonder if it lets you download these. Delete document, delete collection. Like, I wonder if you can look at the JavaScript natively. Again, first time that I've been in here, but that's what I would expect to see. I'm expecting to see a new collection. Over time, we want to see additional collections. We will want to see such things such as competencies, and we'll need documents, but I think that's going to be in storage. Databases and storage. I think documents is going to be here. I'm going to pin that. But I would say, generally speaking, that was pretty pain-free. It looks like my emulator is running now, and so let's see if we can also edit locally. refresh. Okay, here's my emulator. And here's my local. I think in my emulator, I should have lost all my users again because I restarted. That's what I expected. Let's continue with Google. And yes, edit. Missing or insufficient permissions. Interesting. Let's just... Is that because I'm not... No, so what I've got is at the moment it's hard-coded that this user is an admin. So I'm not quite sure what's going on there. Let's try saving that. I have a feeling that'll fail. Missing or insufficient permissions. I wonder if I get a console error from that. I do not. Let's jump back over to Firestore. Okay, I'm just going to run back to GPT, move functions to South America. Did that do that? Confirm no. Yeah, so I'm imagining that worked. Refactor, edit. Okay, add editable user account, date of birth details. This works in the cloud, but locally, I can see Firestore emulator, the form is giving me the error. Missing or insufficient permissions. While that's running, I'm kind of quite happy that it gave me my edit pretty quickly. I think the next thing I want to do is set up some default users. I want to seed some default users. So let's have a look at, let's build a new file, new prompt. How do I want to do this? My Firebase app is now creating a user profile document in the Firestore. And in the user profile collection, it's creating a document for my user when I save it. I want to have some seed documents. I want to create some test users when my application starts. And I want to store the seed data for these users in a seeds folder and store the data in JSON in the same way that it gets stored in the Firestore. So create a seeds folder and create a user profiles collection folder inside that that maps to the collection. And then inside user profiles, add 3 JSON documents. And the users that I want to add is Andy at example.com, Barry at example.com, Charlie at example.com. The passwords are the same as the email addresses. And the dates of birth are just random dates of birth. And then there's an existing script which can be run to seed the database. So I want you to wipe whatever that is, and I want you to update the script so that it reads the files out of the seed directory and populates the local data in the emulator when you start the application. Okay. Okay, I'm kind of happy with that prompt, or I'm happy with the direction of this session. let's come back here. Okay, so fix the local permissions issue. You may need to restart. Let's restart. Let's see if we can get that working. Let's cancel that. Restart the emulators. If I get a successful run of this, I then want to commit the results. Emulator logging. Okay. So refresh my local, log in with Google, add a new account, Simon at Hobbs. Okay, there is me, and if I click edit, I can add a date. And if I refresh, I still have that data. And if I go over to the emulator, there is my local, there's my user profile. Fantastic. Very happy with that. Let's commit that progress. I wonder what this Firestore rules analysis is. Let's have a look at that. What is that? Like, why is that file created there? There's a Firestore rules analysis file that's been created in the root of the add editable user account. Why? I'm not going to commit this file at the moment. Let's add everything else. I just don't know why that file's there. And then git add agents. So what did we do in this? We basically did, I'm going to say that we set up Firestore and user profile editing. Okay, ready for this new prompt, which is to set up some seed data for my users. After the seed data has been set up, then we'll pretty much have a pattern for creating seed data for all different sorts of things, with the idea that we're creating JSON files that should match the data that gets stored in Firestore. I'm reading the Firebase author Firestore skill notes now because this changes both. Current profile documents only contain date of birth and updated it. Sure. Document ID is the Firebase auth ID. I'm going to keep the seed JSON close to that shape. Yes, is what I want. While adding the minimum auth seed metadata, the script needs to create the local emulator users and attach each profile to the right UID. Sure. So while it's doing that, I want to think about, I need to think about permissions, because there's like, giving permissions to users, I was reading, is a somewhat different thing than just storing properties that they are an admin or not an admin. So I just want to think about what this looks like. Essentially, I want to have an administration role and I want to have a management role. I want to allow Firebase has all of the agent skills sitting in the .agents folder. So I'm going to trust that Firebase has enough skill information to know how to handle these roles. Okay, let's start a new prompt. All right, the users in my Firebase application, some of the users will be admins and some of the users will be managers. I want to have permissions implemented in the most native way possible for Firebase. And only administrators are allowed to make people managers. Only administrators are allowed to edit any user. And managers will be, and administrators will be allowed to look at administration pages. There's a few like nuances to this one that I'm kind of my gut sort of says are going to be things that I'll have to kind of fiddle with at some point. Can an administrator edit a manager? Can managers really look at all administration pages? I think some administration pages will be administrators only and some administration pages will be managers. Then there's also the fact that even though there's only one cafe at the moment, you sort of want to be aware that maybe people are attached to one location. Now that's going to be a future requirement. We're not going to worry about that too much, but this is the kind of nuance that you've got to face when you're dealing with these types of systems. And just to be, to be clear, again, this is my first Firebase app, so I don't have any in my mind. I don't have any existing like patterns of how to do things, and I just want to make the AI just do everything as generically as possible. So if I come back to see where Jupyter got to on the last task. Now I'm hoping that these files are named by a user. That would be very nice for DX. And so I'm going back to SED. Okay, so we have seeds, we have user profiles, we have Andy. Perfect. I know it looks simple, but essentially one of these things is like once you have one, you have 50 billion. Like you've created the pattern, and then we can just clobber this with we could literally do a screenshot of a user editing form and paste it to the AI, and it can just both expand out not only all of the user editing forms, but also all of the stub data in the seeds files. What else has it done? Yeah, so there's a dev, so scripts, seed. It's added a bunch of seed stuff. Let's go remove that. So seed, we'll have a seed command. I'm not going to, I'm just gonna pull back things I'm not planning to use initially. So let's just stick with that for the moment. So we've got a seed command, a pnpm seed command. Let's see if it's run already. Yeah. So Jupyter finished on that task. Let's come back to storage. Emulators are not running. Okay. What's going on here? The storage emulator is not running. Okay. Oops. Just search for /Firestore. Oh yeah, sorry. I was looking at the wrong thing. So authentication, no users, Firestore, no data because we restarted. So I should be able to run pnpm seed. Perfect. There's my 3 users. Woohoo. Authentication, there's my 3 users. So hopefully I can log in. I can log in with these guys. Let's try it. Okay, here's my local, log out. Log in with email password. So Barry at example.com at example. Whoops. I'll save these in the browser at some stage. There, I'm logged in. Let's log out and let's just double check that it's not fake. So let's just do a bad password. Nope, that's failed. That's great. Alex was the first user. Let's just log in with Alex again. Sign in with email. Password was not accepted. Oh, Andy it was. That would make more sense. Okay, perfect. So Andy is, oh, did we do permissions already? Let's log that out. Let's log in with Barry. Yeah, so they're just users. They don't have any roles. And what was the first one? Charlie. I'm logged in as Charlie. I can edit. Yes, perfect. Did that date match? 1991, 6/12/1991. Go and have a look at the emulator, Charlie. Can we look at this from here? We want to look at it from here. Okay, 1991. So what's that? 12, 6/12. So also that's good to see that we're using. Well, at least the date format matches what I expect it to be. So 12th December 1991. And if I go back in to look at Charlie, yeah, December 1991. Is that? Yes. So the month is the second position. So that's time zone correct, or sorry, internationalization correct, or whatever you want to call that. All right. That went pretty quick. Let's commit that. So that is our seeds. Git add seeds. Scripts. Seed. Let's change this script name. So let's move this to seed. Oh, so that's seed data.mjs, and I'll jump to the package JSON seed data. That's good. Where are we again? So we want to add everything. I still don't know where this Firestore file came from. Let's move it out of the way. See if it turns up again. All right. Okay, so seed users. I'm pretty happy with that. I'm getting very close to having like the baseline user editing and interactions that I want, where I can pretty much rush things locally. So I'm very happy with that. So the next step is, is to add this authentication layer, like this roles layer. So I'm going back to Chippity. Okay, on that. Yeah. I'm kind of quite happy with that progress. I'm just trying to think. So we can log in and log out. I'm just trying to, I guess I'm trying to think what direction I would want to go in next, whether I go down the path of like editing like having more information in the profiles, whether I think I'll probably spend some time thinking about the types of editing paradigms that I want. Can admins edit all of the data that belongs to a user? I'll need to have it. Let's chuck an edit form on. Let's give ourselves a local profile. So let's copy this and paste it. And this will be an interesting test to see how these seed data works. So let's make this one's my own account. And this one at the moment is hard-coded to be a manager. So let's add this, and I'm not that young, but whatever. 7th, 11th, 79. And let's see what happens when we run seed. Nice and clean. It didn't really care that we had already had those users in there. So there's my Simon user. Now, can I log in as this user and edit other users? And yeah, I want to be able to edit other users, don't I? So let's log out. Email password. Hobbs.ad.au. Oh. Okay, there I am. If I go to employees, all right, I want to be able to edit these other employees. Okay, cool. That's running the roles. So start a new prompt. On the employees page, I want to be able to edit employees if I'm a manager or if I'm an administrator. The seed user Simon at hobbs.ad.au should also be seeded as an administrator, and Charlie at example.com should be seeded as a manager, and the other two users will just be normal employees without any other role. Now that prompt overlaps with this prompt because it does assume that this is going to be finished. So I'm actually just I'm going to clobber that over the top. I'm going to basically steer this. What's it doing? Okay, right now the admin checks are email-based. Need to change the narrow. I found one existing contradiction in the route helper is currently treated as not an admin path, even though it is the edit another user surface. Sure. See what happens there. Interested in what functions it's added for this. Where do my functions live again? Routes, lib, functions, index. Okay, we have, so I'm expecting this to build up quite a lot. So there's a bunch of helper methods. I mean, this is a little bit smelly to me because I kind of thought or feel that a function is meant to be a cloud function that serves a specific task, you know, a specific, like, basically creates an endpoint and my application can interact with that endpoint. But this functions file, this index.js, contains quite a lot of data, quite a lot of additional methods that I guess I wouldn't have really expected there to be so many additional methods. There's a lot of references to the local machine. I'm going to let this build up. It looks like, so if the pattern is to build up this file with a whole bunch of like code, then so be it. But in theory, this is my Svelte application with all my application architecture is all in here. And in theory, it's calling out to functions, and those functions are defined in here. So what's going on here, for example, set manager role. Read JSON body, sure. Require admin, sure. Choose a user before changing the roles. Use custom claims is good because I know that custom claims is what Firebase specifically does. As far as from what I've read custom claims, so that seems good to me. Yeah, it's interesting. It's not too bad. There's not too much going on in here. Let's look at the structure. Find it interesting that there's a set cause method, because wouldn't that be kind of part of the framework? Wouldn't everything just work or not work internally in the cloud? So list all users, require admin or manager, require admin, require signed in, helper methods. I guess these methods should live. What's calling require admin or manager? Inside employees, it's getting a list of employees. It's waiting to confirm the user has permission to see the list of all users, and then it's calling list all users. If that, so it's going to be doing, yeah. So if it's going to, if that's correct, if that's the way that Firebase wants to work, and with the functions where it's applying these sort of local checks, then fine. I guess I'm trying to go. I don't think it's good or bad. I'm just trying to get my head around it and try and get a feel for how Firebase wants to be architected. In the meantime, yes, it did not restart the Firebase emulators. That's what I want. Let's seed. Interesting. So when I tried to seed, I got a permissions issue. So let's just tell it about that. And if I come back to my code and open up these files, okay, so I have roles in my seed data. Good. Okay, the failure is from the new custom claims right in the seed script. Sure. Custom claims are an admin SDK operation. I know that to be true. The signed-in REST endpoint allows profile updates, but custom claims are an admin SDK operation. I'm going to use the project's existing Firebase admin dependency from functions for the seed script pointed at the auth emulator. So the problem is that when it's seeding the users, it's allowed to update the properties in the Firestore, but the custom claims is an admin operation. So it just means that the seed function needs to be able to access the admin SDK operation. Cool. Now that shouldn't have affected production. So I'm going to do a deployment to wrap up the session today. Firebase deploy. And All right, just finishing, waiting for this to finish deploying. There's my running application. Does look like, yeah, running these emulators does watch state and does change, because it does appear that my change to the location caused it to update. Oh, no, that's that's interesting. So it was running locally to get a list of employees, and it called a cloud function for that. It's not good or bad, but I would not, in my mind, I wouldn't expect locally it to run a cloud function, but I suppose that, so locally it has some sort of knowledge, even though it's running a local call, it has a knowledge of regions. I don't know how that works. Would you like to proceed with deletion? Selecting no. Yes, I do. You are renaming a function or changing its region. It is recommended that you create a new function first before deleting the old one to prevent event loss. That's fine. We're not live. Creating our function in South America East. That's good. I'm just going to jump, while I wait for that, I'm going to jump back into our, what is next? So I guess next we're looking at, we would want to just really, now that we can edit and update employees and give them roles and things, we really want to flesh out all of the custom data, all of the properties that an employee has. There's a bunch of Brazilian tax law data. There's like phone numbers, contact points, and so forth, that we want to get set up in a form. And then I'm not sure, then the next step could be onboarding of new users, or it might be, I think we're getting really close to doing the fingerprint login stuff, which is actually probably what we're going to do next. We'll do the fingerprint login stuff. So in the next session, have this finished? It takes a while to deploy. I wonder if its deployments are slow when you are updating, adding functions. Sometimes it asks me this question, how many days do I want to keep container images, which again, I think is related to functions update. I'm not always asked this, so time will tell. All right, PNPM seed, does that work now? Apparently it does. Double check that. Let's look and see if we can edit users as logged in as Simon. We go to employees. That's in production, not working. Go to employees locally. So employees locally, we can see we've got a manager user. I wonder what the markup looks like for this button. So we have the AC badge, the status is progress. I don't know what progress means. That came from some early AI stuff. So I guess we want to maybe look at what these statuses, what these badges and statuses do, because that's a pretty dodgy, non-semantic kind of markup, I would say. Having a label for a manager, but using a badge, status progress, whatever. But other than that, the markup's nice and clean. I'm pretty happy. So I can make someone a manager. So what happens if I click make manager? And then if I edit Barry, I can't, there's no field for making them a manager, but I suppose that doesn't matter. Yeah, so I give them the role manager, remove manager. Great. Refresh this. Can I make Andy a manager? Yes, refresh that. But in my production database, I've lost the ability to load employees. Oh no, there we go. Make manager. Great. Edit account. Something I need to be able to do is edit the display name. Need to edit the display name, and also there's a few other fields which are done in the authentication service, which is like phone number and stuff are done in the authentication service. Whereas all the other properties like are not, they're just in the Firestore. So, but I'm pretty happy with that. Not worried too much about verified, unverified at the moment. Okay, so yeah, so the next step, I think, the next video I'm going to be loading this up on, is this free? Hello Jabbar. Why use Z? So I use Z because I like it. I used to use it, VS Code quite a lot, and you know, the days of having a million plugins in my editor are kind of gone. So I now use Z just because it's built in Rust, I think, and I just find it to be super fast. I've got a friend who did some experimentation using spinning up 30 agents at a time on his machine, and he can run way more agents using Z because he was using PHP Storm, and it was just consuming way too many resources. So when he switched to Z, he found quite a marked improvement in performance and his ability to run multiple agents at the same time. I don't really have that pressure, but I kind of tend to by default try to use things that are really simple and like low, like high performance or low overhead. That's why I'm currently using Z. Thanks for the question. Yeah, so the next session, what I want to do is I want to get the fingerprint. I'm going to load up my Windows machine and I'm going to attach a fingerprint reader to that. And what we want to do is we want to create a kiosk, and in that kiosk application, we want someone to be, so if I've got a user here and they've got a known fingerprint, I want them to be able to fingerprint the reader and the kiosk unlocks so that they can essentially, and that what they're going to be doing is they're going to be logging in for the day. So I'll also need to be able to record their sessions. So when a cafe worker comes in the morning and they fingerprint, they register as coming in for work. So I need some sort of logging systems for that. So I'll be thinking about how I want to kind of record events. Yeah, so just again, so thanks anyone for watching. This is, we're rebuilding this vibe coded app and we're rebuilding it in Firebase, and it's for a cafe, essentially, and it's not going to be a public application, it's a purpose-built application for a specific business. My name's Simon, or Cy, or Simesy, and my company is FreeSource, and yeah, thanks for watching this very long-winded streaming video. If you stuck around the whole way, thanks a lot, see you next time.